Welcome back to The Explainer. If you love geeking out over the cutting-edge tech that shapes our everyday lives, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're unpacking a massive leap coming to iOS 27. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we interact with our own memories, all driven by this wild new wave of software capability. We're diving right into the evolution of iOS photo editing today, and trust me, it is absolutely fascinating.
But right off the bat, I want you to ask yourself a foundational question before we get into the actual mechanics. What happens when your camera thinks for you? Because, look, for the entire history of mobile phones, your camera was just a passive tool. You pointed it, you clicked, and whatever you managed to capture in that tiny fraction of a second, well, that was it. You were stuck with it. If the lighting was terrible, or if you completely missed the angle, you'd end up spending 20 minutes in editing apps just trying to salvage the thing. But what happens when the software actively participates in that creative process? That's exactly the transition we're exploring today, moving from manual photography straight into AI-driven editing.
Okay, let's dive into this and establish exactly what we're talking about here. When we say Apple Intelligence in this specific context, we're talking about the suite of advanced AI-driven photo editing capabilities launching in iOS 17. It's essentially designed to act as the ultimate fix for all of those incredibly common smartphone photography frustrations. We're not just talking about slapping a filter on a photo anymore. This is a completely new foundational layer of software that literally understands the context of the image you just snapped. So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the evolution of photo editing. Then, we'll cover the power to extend, followed by enhancing every single detail. After that, we'll get into reframing your reality. And finally, we'll wrap up with the overall Apple Intelligence impact. All right, Section 1, the evolution of photo editing, from manual to Apple Intelligence.
Tracing this timeline back, we obviously start in the past, where we relied entirely on manual edits. Remember downloading a dozen third-party apps, messing with exposure sliders for way too long just trying to fix a blown-out sky? Yeah, been there. Now, in the present, we've gotten a bit lazier, but in a good way. We rely heavily on basic auto fixes. You just tap that little magic wand icon and the phone does its absolute best to balance the colors. But as we move into iOS 27, we are officially entering the era of Apple Intelligence. The software isn't just fixing what's broken anymore. It's intelligently understanding the scene and offering up entirely new creative possibilities.
Section 2. The power to extend, generating beyond the original frame.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the complete reversal of how we treat photo boundaries. Let's contrast these two approaches for a second. With traditional iOS editing, your only option to change the frame was to crop inward, right? You were literally cutting away information and losing context just to center a subject. But with Apple Intelligence, the software actually allows you to extend outward. It generates brand new pixels beyond the original boundaries of the photo. It essentially imagines the whole world that existed just outside your camera lens. How wild is that?
Let's paint a quick scenario here. Imagine taking a fast group photo at a family gathering. Everyone looks amazing, but you accidentally cut off Uncle Bob on the far edge of the frame. In the past, well, that photo was just ruined. Sorry, Bob. But now, by generating pixels beyond the original image border, you can literally just rescue him. You simply drag the border out, and Apple Intelligence fills in the rest of his jacket and the wall behind him like magic. Or imagine you've got a scenic background from a landscape shot and you want to expand it to make it feel way more sweeping and cinematic. Generating those extra pixels is just a total game changer for framing.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3. Enhancing every single detail, elevating what is inside the canvas. Okay, we all know the old struggle of manual tuning. You slide the brightness up, but suddenly the contrast looks totally washed out, so you bump the saturation, and boom, now everyone's skin looks neon orange. It is absolute guesswork. Well, intelligent enhancement removes that guesswork completely. Instead of playing around with blind sliders, this AI-driven elevation analyzes the highly specific details of the photo. It knows exactly what a human face should look like, it knows how a blue sky should gradient, and it automates the enhancement intelligently based on that actual context.
These specific capabilities really act as the ultimate solution for our most common frustrations. Think about it. Have you ever taken a photo in a dimly lit restaurant? Intelligent enhancement doesn't just blindly brighten the whole image and turn it into a grainy mess. Instead, it selectively improves the poor lighting on the actual subjects while perfectly maintaining that dark ambient mood in the background. It elevates the existing details, bringing out the subtle texture in clothing or the crisp sharpness in someone's eyes, all while automatically balancing the overall composition. It is literally doing the work of a professional photo retoucher in a fraction of a second.
Moving right along to Section 4, reframing your reality, changing composition after the fact.
For over a century, photography has been defined by one thing: static framing. Once that shutter clicked, you were stuck with the original shot perspective. If the angle was slightly off, too bad. But with intelligent reframing in iOS 27, being locked into a bad camera angle is completely a thing of the past. You can dynamically alter the composition and shift the focus long after the picture was actually taken.
And this brilliantly illustrates why this update is so revolutionary. It gives you, the user, complete creative control over your memories. You can intelligently change the focus of the image, like maybe shifting the depth of field from a person in the foreground all the way to a landmark in the background. You can subtly alter the perspective to make a building look perfectly straight instead of awkwardly leaning. Ultimately, you are taking a single photo and creating a brand new visual narrative right from it. It's almost like having a virtual 3D space to play with, but captured inside a flat 2D image.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds incredibly complex. Am I going to need a manual just to use my camera roll? But the truth is, the user experience within the iOS ecosystem remains beautifully simple. Check this out. Step 1, select your photo. Step 2, tap to apply Apple Intelligence. Step 3, reframe. That's it. It is completely seamless. All the heavy computational lifting is happening right under the hood, leaving you with a fluid, intuitive interface that absolutely anyone can master in seconds.
Finally, Section 5. The Apple Intelligence Impact. Why iOS 27 matters. So the crucial point is summarized perfectly right here, and I highly invite you to just take a quick screenshot of this clear breakdown. We have our three main features. First, Extend takes the action of generating beyond the frame, which results in a bigger, complete canvas. Next, Enhance elevates the detail, giving you superior image quality without the headache of manual sliders. And finally, Reframe lets you change the composition, allowing for perfect focus and perspective way after the fact. Synthesizing all of this, it's clear this represents a massive, massive leap in how we actually document our lives.
But to truly understand a topic like this, we always have to step back and look at the bigger picture, which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on today. When our software can literally imagine pixels outside the frame, alter perspectives, and completely rewrite lighting, are AI-edited photos still capturing reality, or are we now using our phones to create an entirely new one? It's a really fascinating debate about the future of photography, and I want to know exactly where you stand. To all the IndustryIQ viewers watching, drop your thoughts and let's debate this in the comments below. As always, keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.